Hi, I'm going to show you how to assemble a FlipBooKit with some suggestions for child-adult collaborations. Remember, adult helpers, the more you do, the less they get to do. And the less they get to do, the less interested they'll be. So for any parts where they need your assistance, make sure you have a way to include them. I always advise interfering with their handiwork only when absolutely needed. This way, they get to own the project, and they understand that it's not that they can't do something, it's that their bodies aren't quite ready to do it yet. With this in mind, I've included some tips in this video for the parts that are toughest for kids, so you can involve them as much as possible. Let's take a look at what comes in the box. We have a set of flip cards, the box that we're going to assemble, a bag of Spindle Assembly parts, and a bag of rivets, which are going to be the things holding this together. Now let's take a look at all the parts that come in the larger spindle bag. We have 2 bushings, which are going to sit in the sides of the box. We have an axle disc that has 24 holes and 4 rectangles. If you look at it from the side, you see one side is flat and the other has the larger axle. It's going to rest inside the bushing and spin. We have another disc. This one is the hex hole disc. It's slightly different. One side has a small hub, one has a wider hub. You can see one side is bigger than the other. We have 2 H sections with long legs and short legs on each. We have an axle pin and we have a crank wheel with a handle and a hexagonal hole on the back. Also a page catch and flipper. So if you unfold this, you'll see that one side has the FlipBooKit logo and the other does not. The logo is going to be on the outside of the box. This is the FlipBooKit Craft. The standard FlipBooKit just has a different box, this lovely black thing with the gold label, but they're assembled exactly the same. Fun way to get started, we're punching out the holes. These don't require tools to punch out. You can do it with your fingers. If you'd like a hand, you can use a pencil, or I like using a chopstick. And just punch out all of the holes. There are a couple holes on here that are for the FlipBooKit Moto. You don't have to punch out the holes for the Moto if you're just doing a basic assembly, but it won't hurt it if you do. And there we are. I've punched out all of the necessary holes, and I actually punched out a couple of the holes that you need for the Moto, but that's okay. Now we're going to fold along all of these creases. There's a narrow strip on one side. There's a narrow strip on the other side that has a little dip. This will become important later. Right now I'm just showing you how to fold up the box, folding the logo side down, just to get an idea of how it's put together, because you want to make sure you have it done properly before you put the rivets in. The rivets are extremely secure, and as soon as they go in, they're in. So this is a test just to show you the shape of the box and how it will go together. This is going to be the general shape of our box. Let's take a look at this little bag of rivets here. Small rivets and a piece of double-sided tape. This is meant to be there. We're going to put it aside for right now. The rivets have two parts. One part has smooth sides and an open hole in the center. The other side is smaller and, as you can see, has little bumps along the side. It looks a little bit like a screw, but these are actually snap rivets. So the way that you assemble the rivets, you take one of each type, put the small bumpy part inside the other, and squeeze. Squeeze real hard, and that's what it looks like. Assembling the box with the logo side down. First thing we're going to do is attach this flap and this flap. I'm going to take a rivet. I'm going to take the larger, smoother sided ones first. I will pop it through the hole from the outside. This is going to go through two pieces of cardboard. I'll flip it over. I can see where it's coming up through the cardboard. I will take one of the smaller sides, put it on top, and push down. It is possible to do these by hand, but I'm going to show you how to use a couple very simple tools to make the process easier. One thing that you can use is a quarter. You're going to place the two parts of the rivet. I'm going to put a quarter on top and push. And there we go. You could also use a spoon or a key. So now I'm going to demonstrate how to use a spoon. Same as before. First place the parts of the rivet. And any tool will work as long as it's just a little bit bigger than your thumb. Placing it on top and push. And use both hands. And see, there we go. Gonna do this again, and this time with the key. Same idea, but the big part down. Use your thumb and fingers if you need to help press them together. You might have other good tools. Anything that you can use to help squeeze them together is great. So we're going to fold this up again, the same we did before. So now we're going to be putting a rivet through 3 layers of cardboard. You won't see it coming through all the way, most likely, but that's okay as long as you can get the other side of the rivet in to meet it. So here I'm using the quarter again. And let's do this one. Even adults can find assembling the rivets a challenge. They are sturdy. As soon as you have them in place, they aren't going anywhere. So double check that you've folded the box correctly before securing the rivets. If you're an adult helper and the child's hands aren't yet strong enough to press the rivets together, have them locate and place the 2 sides of the rivets in the box before you jump in with your grown-up hand muscles. And anytime your assistance is needed, have them tell you exactly what to do and then do it their way. If they're about to make a fatal error, you can point out what you notice might be a problem, then let them figure out how to fix it. Make sure that they're involved as much as possible. And there we go. We have our box riveted and ready. Let's talk about regular books for a second. If you want to flip through one, you need to use something like your thumb. And then we can flip through it very nicely. Unfortunately, our FlipBooKit does not have a thumb. Fortunately, it does come with a flipper. And it goes in here where that little dip is that I showed you before. We're going to take these 2 parts, the flipper, and this is the page catch. There are 2 bumps on the back of one and 2 holes on the back of the other. Those go together. Now assembling these, you need to line them up. Squeezing them with your hands is possible, but it can be tough. So I like using pliers because they snap in really nicely. If you have any small people around who like to put things in their mouths, this smaller piece, the page catch, if it accidentally pops off, is a possible choking hazard. So one option is to leave out the smaller page catch and just use the larger flipper. Now we're going to grab that piece of double-sided tape that we had before, peel it off, stick it on the back of the smooth side of the L-shaped flipper, like so. And then need to peel off the other side of the tape and slide that right in. Then go ahead and squish it down, squeeze it tight, and now we're ready to assemble our spindle. First thing, let's take these two H pieces with some long legs and short legs. Hold them with the two long legs of each together. Turn one of them 90 degrees to the side and slide the slots all the way together. If you're working with kids, another good thing to do while you're assembling this is to pay attention to shapes and patterns. You can invite them to notice that there are 4 little rectangles pointing out from the center. We might have seen that shape somewhere else before. So we're going to match these two patterns together. We're going to take the axle disc and snap it down there. You want to push down until all 4 feet are through the holes. You'll notice that only 2 are locked all the way through. That's okay. Just so long as all 4 of them are in the holes and secure. You do want to have 2 of them locked. Then we will flip it over, take the other disc, narrow hub down. Narrow hub is going inside. So we're going to match the rectangles. We're going to match the rectangles on this, snap it into place, putting it on the table again to help me snap it. One side has the disc with the axle. The other side has the flatter hub with the little hex shape. This is what the assembled spindle will look like. You'll never see it like this because it'll always be inside the box, but I want to show you just how many holes and cards there are. Each of those tiny holes has one of the cards laid into it, and then the other side of the card goes into the hole directly across from it. With this many cards, it's not difficult to lose place and get them crooked. So I'm going to show you a little trick. Take a light colored pen or whiteout or some very small pieces of tape, and we're going to put some marks around the spindle disc. So I'm going to follow this piece of the H-shaped plastic. I'm going to make a little mark just on top of the hole that's right next to it. I will spin it. I will make another mark on top of that hole. This part is not required, but it makes it a whole lot easier to make sure that everything is in the right place. And we'll do it on the other side as well. It's exceptionally frustrating putting in 20 of the 24 cards before realizing that you're one hole off and having to go back and fix them all. This is a good way of giving yourself a little reference guide. Grab the crank wheel, grab the axle pin, and we're going to put the axle pin in the center of the back side of the crank wheel in that little hex hole. Push down real tight, and there we are. Now I'm going to show you how to install the spindle. Grab your bushings, the spindle, and the crank wheel. We're going to install the bushings from the inside of the box. So just pop through the hole. We'll put one on the other side, also from the inside. We use these to make it easier for the axle and spindle to spin around because there's less friction against the smooth plastic than the rougher cardboard. We're going to go ahead and put this in. Make sure that the flipper is at the top. Going to go to the left side of the box, take the axle end and put it through the hole. The other side you're going to line up with the other bushing hole. You want to line up that little hexagon hole with the opening of the bushing. So the best way to do this is to look through the hole on the side, make sure you have plenty of light, get it aligned properly, and you're going to take the crank wheel. You're going to look through, make sure it's in the right place, and put the axle pin through and snap it right into the other ends of the spindle. And now it should be able to spin smoothly. Now it's time to punch out the cards for the flipbook. These are made with a nice heavy paper, so they're pretty solid. You'll notice that there are these tiny little tabs or sprockets on them. This part is still a little bit delicate and you definitely don't want to tear them. Now it's absolutely possible to punch out these cards by hand. I'm going to show you a few tools that might make things a little bit easier for you, especially if you're working with somebody with very small, very fast, and excited hands. So you can use a key. Rest the key on the little tab sticking out and push down. Then pop out the rest of the card with your hands, and there we have it. Another possible tool is a popsicle stick. I'll show you this one with it resting on the table, which is a little bit easier for some people. The idea is to use something thin to help support the tabs as you punch them out. A nice thing to do here is to talk about the simple machines in the FlipBooKit. There's an axle with a spindle and bushings holding it in place, and an attached wheel that doubles as part of the crank. What's more, your arm is part of the crank mechanism. "24 cards. Oh no, my cards have fallen all over the place. If only there was oh, they're all numbered. Actually, the back side of each top part is a bottom part of the picture, so every card has a number. This is an excellent task for people who are still learning to count. 3, 4, 8, 22, 23, 24. All right. All in order. Now it's time to put the cards in the box. If you remember, we made marks on the spindle discs so that we can tell where we want the cards to go. So we're going to take them, make sure they're in order, start with number 1. Place the end of the tab where that little mark is, bend it a bit, look over to the other side, and slide the other tab into the hole that's directly across. This is why we made the marks. Flip it down. Slide one tab in, bend, slide the other tab in. Make sure you don't miss any holes and flip it down. Number 3, and flip it down. This is a very good exercise in concentration and coordination. That said, it's also 48 tabs going into 48 very small holes. The marks we placed are helpful for setting smaller goals as well as helping align the cards. As we come around to another set of markings, I can tell that I'm exactly on track. Pun absolutely intended. See how the angle of this card's a little bit off? You want to make sure the space between them is completely straight. A couple suggestions for helping kids. If they just need a little help with coordination, you can hold the cards in place while they guide the tabs in. Now, if the adult is doing the actual assembly, you can have the child hand you each card, telling you which number it is and perhaps how many are left. You can invite them to notice what small changes they can see on the pictures of each new card, and guess what might change in the next one. And that's our FlipBooKit assembled. Turn the crank wheel counterclockwise as shown by the arrows on the wheel and marvel at the animation. You should know that this box is fairly sturdy, so when a child spins it wildly fast, the worst damage is some of the cards slipping out, which is easily fixable. One of the best things about the FlipBooKit craft is customizing the blank box. You can color it, add stickers, glue on items, whatever your mind comes up with. Thanks for watching and have fun! We'd love to hear about your experiences making these, so stop by the website, Instagram, and Facebook page to share pictures and stories, and see what others are doing with their FlipBooKits. Keep an eye out for additional tutorials about how to make your own animations for the FlipBooKit and how to throw a FlipBooKit party.